Hello everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. I am filming my third video of the day, and to say I'm tired is putting it lightly because it is past midnight and oh my goodness, I have so much editing to do once I'm done filming. But anyways, you don't want to hear about that. You want to hear about what this video is. So I am here to talk about my top 5 favorite books of November. And what's really fun is that actually 3 of the books I'm going to talk about I featured heavily in a recent reading vlog that I did. I'm going to link that up in the cards above, where I read mostly historical romances and had the time of my life. So yeah, let's just go ahead and jump in. So the first book I have to talk about is The Lady Gets Lucky by Joanna Shupe. Oh my goodness. Probably my new favorite historical romance of all time, although actually I have 2 other historical romances to talk about in this video that are pretty neck and neck in my mind with this one. But this is Joanna Shupe's latest release, and this is about Kit and Alice. This is one of those stories where Alice is a wallflower, and so, oh, by the way, this takes place in Gilded Age. Well, actually Newport, but also New York. And so she's a wallflower. She goes to our hero Kit to get seduction lessons from him so that she can attract a husband and get out from under her abusive mother. And by the way, I'm not going to go too deeply into the plots of these books because I've talked about these books in so many other videos. But this was nothing short of immaculate. I spent like a good 15 minutes in that reading vlog just talking about this book and how amazing these characters are individually, because like Kit, he's just seemingly this like playboy rake hero, and he really is so much more than that. And then Alice also, you know, she just seems like a wallflower, but she's so much stronger than that word would lead you to believe that she is. Oh my god, the way that the dynamic between these 2 characters changes from just like lighthearted and fun to this just so swoony and breathtakingly beautiful romance is just incredible. I could talk about this book for years and years and years and still not be done. I can totally see why so many of my friends absolutely love this book as well. The cover is nothing short of stunning, and I actually just today saw the cover for the next book in the series and it's like just as stunning. So just so amazing. I need to make a recommendation video for like sex or seduction lessons in romance books because that's one of my absolute favorite tropes, and it was just so good in this. So good. Next book I have to talk about is Then Came You by Lisa Kleypas. This is another book that I read for that same reading vlog. And this one is definitely a darker and more serious historical. This also is more of an old school historical romance. This was written in 1994, 1995, around that time. And this one is about our heroine, Lily, and she just loves to shock London society, but she also has a very dark secret having to do with her past, so she has a lot of trauma from that. And then her younger sister Penelope is betrothed to Alex, who is Lord Rayford. He is an earl, but Lily believes him to just be a horrible person and to just be like a terrible match for Penelope, and so she vows to sabotage this betrothal. And so this is like an actual hate to love situation. Alex and Lily, they're seemingly very different people, and they just have this animosity and this passion behind their hate for each other, and I've never read anything quite like it in a historical or really in any kind of romance. Like the dynamic between them is just so unique, and the way that it turns from hate to love is so interesting too, because this romance gets messy. There's just angst upon angst upon angst, and it's just the perfect amount for the story. And like I said, the dark secret that Lily has and the trauma in Alex's past, and how and just how they fall for each other. It's just so good. It's just, yeah, it's amazing. And it's one of the few like old school historical romances that I have just truly loved, and I cannot recommend highly enough. Like I said, I've never read a romance quite like this one, and I adored both main characters so much, and the character development, and just it's so good. Lily is probably one of my all-time favorite historical romance heroines at this point. The next historical that I have to talk about is The Earl Takes All by Lorraine Heath. Oh my goodness, talk about angst. Talk about angst, talk about emotion. I cried so much while reading this book. I have never cried as much for a historical romance as I have for this book. Now, this is technically book 2 in the Hellions of Havisham series. Of course, you don't need to read these books in order. They can all be read as standalones, but the plot of this is just bonkers. Lorraine Heath is the queen of that, and she's the queen of creating the situations where you really don't think a happily ever after is possible, and then the HEA comes in clutch at like the 98% mark somehow. But this is about a set of twins. We have Edward and Albert. Albert is married to Julia. Julia becomes pregnant, and Edward and Albert go on this last safari together, kind of this last hurrah before Julia has her baby. And Edward also promises Albert that he will really get his life and his shit together once they come back from this trip. Albert ends up getting attacked and killed by a gorilla on their safari, and reading that scene, oh my god, like that's one of the scenes that made me cry. Like it just feels so real and so like visceral and just raw, and it's just, it's heartbreaking. And so Edward comes back with Albert's body. Albert, when he's dying, tells Edward to pretend to be him so that Julia doesn't go into distress and like have a miscarriage. She, you know, he definitely doesn't want her to lose this baby because she's suffered miscarriages before. So he pretends to be Albert. He comes back to London, and you know, he's falling for her. They have kind of a hate to love situation because before this trip happened, Edward and Julia did not like each other. Especially Edward, like really did not like Julia because he viewed her as taking his brother away from him. And so yeah, now he's pretending to be Albert and he's falling for Julia, and of course like this is a terrible situation because he's not who Julia thinks he is. And oh my god, it's just, it's gut-wrenching and it's beautiful. One of the most romantic stories I've ever read. The way that Edward literally gives up everything to care for Julia and to be with her and to make sure that her baby is born healthy. Like, wow, talk about sacrifice. Like, it's just, it's so good. It made me cry so much. I know I've already said that a million times, but like, yeah, I can't recommend this highly enough. It's easily the best book that I've read from Lorraine Heath, and it just makes me even more excited to read more of her backlist. All right, next up we have The Love Hypothesis by Ellie Hazelwood. Now, let me preface this by saying, even though it's one of my favorite books of the month, I can recognize that this book is not without its faults at all. Let me just set up the plot a little bit. It's a fake dating situation. Also, this is like a super hyped up book on TikTok and BookTube, so you've probably already heard about this book a million times from a million other people, but yeah. It's a fake dating situation. We have a grumpy hero. We have Olive, who's a PhD student, and Adam, who's Dr. Carlson. He is a full-on professor at the same university. And so this like crazy situation happens where Olive, to try to convince her friend that she's dating somebody, she decides to literally just grab the first person who walks into the room with them, and it happens to be Dr. Carlson, and so she just kisses him. And then they have this like really awkward conversation where they end up agreeing to fake date because it would actually benefit Adam as well. And let me just say, yes, this book isn't perfect because there's a lot of like cringy things going on between Olive and Adam. Specifically, like, I just feel like she acts like too casually towards him. Like, he's a professor, and like, yes, PhD students are like almost on the same level as professors, but clearly they're not on the same level. Like, you are not a faculty member, you are a student still. And just like, I don't know, it's just a little weird how casually she like talks to him, and like, you know, but for me, it was really easy to get past that because of just like how giddy this made me feel, and it was just like fake dating perfection. And Adam is just like, he ends up being such a sweet guy, and the way that he falls for Olive. There's also great demisexual representation in this because Olive is demisexual, and it really is great. I think that it's worth the hype. I think that it's worth checking out if this at all sounds interesting to you. I can definitely see why so many people love this and why it has such like a universal appeal to it. So I wholeheartedly recommend it. Of course, it's not a perfect book, but for what it is, I really loved it. And it also gave me vibes of a Mariana Zapata book. If you've read her books, I think you will get those same kind of vibes from this as well. And last but certainly not least is a book that I need to buy myself a physical copy of because that's how much I adored this book. This is Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. Oh my goodness. This book is like the perfect steamy Christmas romance. It's so amazing, guys. It is so good. So Tessa Bailey has just been hitting it out of the park lately with her books, because I also adored It Happened One Summer, which that's a traditionally published book, and this is self-published or indie published. But this is Grumpy Sunshine with our heroine, Stella being the grumpy one. She has been recently released from prison. So of course she's in a very dark place in her life. She doesn't know what she wants to do with her life now that she's out of prison. And of course, you know, being an ex-convict, it's very difficult for her to get a job and to get housing and all of those things, which is awful. And so she's looking at this random window display at this department store. And we have Aiden, who is the manager of this department store called Vivant. He sees her just like pensively looking at this weird window display. And so he asks for her opinion, and she lays into it, and she actually has a passion for window dressing. And so he gives her a job at the department store kind of on a trial basis to see how she does. And Aiden is just like the perfect sunshiny hero, but he also turns dominant in the bedroom and he talks dirty. He's perfect. He's absolutely perfect. I love him so much. He also has like this quirky personality. He's also one of those people that like loves to tell weird stories about his family members, and he's just so endearing and so sweet, and just the way that these two people fall for each other. Yeah, suffice it to say, I could talk about this book forever, but if you are looking for like the perfect, very steamy, very sexy, but also very emotional Christmas romance, look no further than this book. It's just, it's so good, and I need to get myself a physical copy ASAP. All right, guys, that's going to be it for my top 5 favorite books of November. I hope that you enjoyed. I would love it if you would leave a comment down below telling me about some of your absolute favorite books that you read in the month of November. I would also love it if you would leave a like and subscribe, and I thank you so much in advance if you do. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!